Hello and welcome to lecture 2 of React class. So in this class, we'll see how to write JSX, which is the building block of React components. And React component is basically building blocks of the React apps. Okay, so we create the React app using React components, where the React components are created by the JSX called JavaScript XML syntax format. So we'll see that how to create JSX, how to create component, and then also we'll see that how to create module, and then we'll see that how we can pass the attributes from one component to other through the React props or properties. Okay, so first we'll see the JSX. So JSX is a XML-like syntax. Okay, um, so which React used a transpiler called Babel, which convert the JX into a JavaScript function calls, and then React use the JSS, those converted functions call or objects to render to the actual HTML elements. Okay, so that's how it works. So if you see, so the JSX first converted to JavaScript objects and functions, and then React render it to HTML elements, and then we can see the user interface UI, right? So that is created by set of components, where each components are created by JSX statement. Okay, so this is an example. Okay, so how we create JSX. So this is basically a component. You see the component is nothing but a function with a return statement. Okay, so you must have a return statement, otherwise nothing will be rendered. And here you see that we have 1, 2, 3 JSX statement. Is for first two is just HTML tag. So this is how you will render it, and then you can change the default behavior through the CSS. Okay, and then here is the JSX expression. So you see that this is basically the JavaScript. You want to print some value of this color, which is assigned in here. So if you want to write the JavaScript inside the JSX, so you need to use the curly braces. The other thing is that in the JSX, so you need to wrap the JSX into a parent component. Okay, so it can be just a div, or it can be any other HTML element, or it can be just a uh, fragment component, fragment element. Okay, like this. Okay, so this is basically some basic rules writing JSX. Uh, so here you can see that the what are the rules. So as I said, that it should be a single parent element, all the JSX. So 1, 2, all of them are inside a parent element. Okay, um, and JSX tag must be properly closed. Okay, so for example, in here there's a you have opening and closing tag. For the p tag, that's fine, but some of the tag which does not have the closing tag, right, in HTML, but in React it must close it. Okay, so this is the self closing tag you should use. The other thing is that if you use the class, okay, so the class should be named as class name instead of class. Okay, so let's say that you want to add the CSS with this class, then you define it as a class name, okay, of this class. So that's the difference between pure HTML and the JSS expressions. Okay, the other thing is that, as I mentioned, that if you want to use the JavaScript in the JSX, so you should write like this, the curly braces. Okay, so these are the few rules which we need when you want to write the JSX. Okay, The next thing is that the components. So as I said, the components is basically just functions, right, with a return statement. And then a component is basically return something so that you can render, right? So now the components also can be, nesting to other components. So for example, here we have the app component, and then inside the app component, you have the button. So you see that this is another component. So the component we basically write with the uppercase. So here the button B is uppercase. Here greetings is the another component which Z is the uppercase, okay, and then it has a self-closing tag, okay. So that's these are the two other components, and then you need to define these two components. So for example, we define in here the button, right? So this is another component, and then button is returning something, which is returning the another two component, okay, icon component and the level component, okay. Similarly, you have a greetings component, and greetings also you need to define. In this slide we did not define greetings, but we need to define it, okay. So here if you see the hierarchies, so at the top we have the app component. App is calling the button component and the greetings component, and then button is calling icon component and the level component, okay. So this is called nesting components. The next thing is that the properties, okay. So how you can pass the attributes from one component to another component. So that's the React has a property called props or properties, okay. So let's say that you have the my app is your component. Inside that you have a person component, right? And then person components, let's say that we define in here, and then the person component needs some information, right? So for example, we are passing the name information, ID information, and that is going from the app component, okay, my app component. And this is how you pass it, okay. So you said, okay, this basically the attribute name, this is the value, this is the attribute name and value. So it goes like an objects, okay. So the object's name, so here you write props. So you can write anything, but by convention we in React we write props. So here we said that, so it will go as an object named props, and then it will have attribute name and value, attribute name and value, okay. So then you can render it using this JSX expression with the curly braces, and then we write props.name and props.id. Okay, so these are basically things that we are going to see also in the code. The other thing is that if you create the component into a separate file, right, then we call it as a separate file, JavaScript file, right? Let's say that this file name is my app.jss, right? Sorry, just JavaScript. So this is basically now treated as a module, okay? So module is basically a JavaScript file which hosts the component, okay. And then you can export it because if you need to use, say for example, the person component you create into a separate module, then you need to export it, and then the my app should import it, okay. So all this thing we'll see, okay. So the export can be default export. So for example, here this is your default export. It can be also the named export. So for example, you can say function and then you just write export person, okay. So this is called named export, okay. And then you also need to import it in another file wherever you are going to use this component, okay. So all this thing we'll see in our next lecture with the VS Code, okay. So thank you very much and see you in the next lecture.